Og så siger jeg,
Nej.
Din bøf.
Det bliver værre og værre. Vi er nødt til at være seriøse.
Ja, det er vi nu.
Søster Benderfeldt.
Sister Benderfeldt.
Yeah.
Okay, we have to speak English now, sisters, and you have to look at the camera because I have to introduce you because I already mentioned you in my first video. So now there is something. Jeg har lagt i kakkelovnen. How do you say that in English? No.
I put in the furnace, but I
Some
don't think
fire
that's the
on,
saying
or-
in English, but I'm not sure.
You have put some fire on.
Yeah, I put some fire on.
And it's just around the corner.
And this is Susanne Benderfeldt. Yeah. And this is Camilla Trustrup. And they are very interesting, as I told you in the first video. Because just a few seconds about yourself. Susanne, you are, of course, ex-Jehovah's Witness, but also a psychologist.
Yeah.
So how do you connect these two worlds?
The two worlds connect very well, but the most important for me in my work is to help people in the process finding themselves, because in a busy world you can be so lost and find it difficult to feel yourself. And in that kind of therapy work, I have been speaking a lot with former Jehovah's Witnesses as well.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of experience with that.
Stop it, Camilla. Oh, the raw from her stomach. Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah.
No, it's okay.
No,
people will see that you're ordinary people too.
Yeah.
But I hear about from many ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that they go to the therapist or the psychologist and they say they don't really understand them. So you must have a great advantage.
A lot of them have said the same to me, that it have been difficult to speak with other psychologists because it is very specific and difficult problems you are dealing with as an ex-witness.
It is.
Yeah.
So it's an advantage. And you are both writers. I will come to you in a moment, Camilla. But you also wrote one of the first books back in the day.
Yeah.
Our Lord's Little Witness,
Yes,
it was called.
Exactly. And I wrote it together with a former journalist. She's a writer as well now. And it was a great help that she was telling my story in third person, I think you say. So it's about the little girl, Susanne, and how she grew up in Jehovah's Witnesses and as a grown-up find her own way out in the real world, if you could say so. Yeah.
And that's 20, 25 years ago?
Yeah,
or maybe further.
Yeah.
So then along came the internet, and now it's been much more exposed. And you also...
Yeah, that's right.
Been interviewing for the television in Denmark, among other things. Been in my podcast.
Yeah.
And in the newspaper, you are used a lot because you're a psychologist and a former Jehovah's Witnesses when the subject is about this.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Right. Yeah.
And Camilla Trustrup, same background as a Jehovah's Witness, and you also recently wrote a book.
Yeah, exactly. I wrote a book together with another woman. It's a letter book. We wrote letters to each other, and it's called Witnesses in the Shadow of the Sect. It's about our respective experiences with Jehovah's Witnesses. I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. Hele, I wrote the book with, did not at all grow up in Jehovah's Witnesses, but her parents, all of a sudden, when she was a late teenager, became Jehovah's Witness. So and she felt some of the same things as I have felt, that the connection simply vanished, or not completely for her, but for me it definitely did. So it's about growing up, and for my part it's about growing up, losing faith, but also losing my family. So it's about existential crisis. And about moving on, also coming out on the other side, and being able to live a good life.
Have your publisher ever considered going broad, make it in English? translated?
Yeah, but that demands more buyers of the book,
Okay.
more readers. So yeah, of course, we would have wanted it to being translated into English or German maybe, but so far it's not on.
It doesn't matter.
That's a bigger project.
It's a much bigger project that demands much more money, and
No matter what, beside that you're ex-JW and a writer now, you also used to work in the Danish parliament.
Yeah, while I was studying at university, I worked in the parliament as an intern and a political advisor, but mostly as an intern. But I had 5 wonderful years, and I got to know a lot about the legislative process, and I had lots of contacts. And when I stopped there, I got my first job in the pharmaceutical industry as a political director and communications director as well.
A spin doctor.
No, not really a spin doctor, because that's you're a spin doctor for a minister, typically. And this is taking. Then you could say I was spin doctor for the pharmaceutical industry, specific pharmaceutical company. But no,
And that leads us to the next question, because you two have been in contact with the Danish parliament and the Minister of Church and several other politicians. And you have a great advantage of knowing the inside and knowing what to say and do with the minister, for example. Tell us a little bit about your experiences. You have been there twice for the church minister and talked with other politicians?
No.
Oh?
We've been the ones for the church minister.
Okay.
We've been seeing the church minister at one meeting. Then we've been seeing the political spokespersons for the church matters. And then I have also been lobbying. We've both been lobbying, actually, for politicians.
And your last meeting with the Danish church minister, that was only a few months ago.
No, not even. It was on the 19th of January, so it's not even a month ago.
Wow.
So it's
It's totally fresh.
Yeah.
And tell us about the meeting. How did it go? Did he ask you were you humble, or were you nervous of speaking about Jehovah's Witnesses in front of him?
I think we both was very energetic because we have a lot to tell them and they could feel that. But first, of course, we were a little bit excited about whether they think that it is serious enough, the subject we are coming with. But it was such a good experience, I think. And I thought I nearly get pretty emotional, and I didn't do it, but I felt for saying thank you so much for being so careful as well, because they really was listening to us. And what would you say about it, Camilla?
Well, first, I think I would like to say also one of the reasons why we have been lobbying this much lately. It's partly because, of course, I wrote the book, and then I thought, of course, it gives you an opportunity to go speaking with the politicians, but also it turned out to be a fantastic moment, because they were revising the legislation for the religious communities outside of the state church. And because they were looking into the legislation again, it gave us a unique opportunity to go try to influence in a very open, transparent way, and give them some facts and try to help them to see what is wrong with this legislation. So that was the window that has been open for some time. But to be honest, I was quite disappointed at the time that came when we had the meeting with the minister of the church, because I couldn't find any legislation anymore. I was looking in all the places where it should be, and it was over and done with. So I thought we were too late at this point. We had been writing, both of you, several months ago, and we had been speaking with the church committee in the parliament months ago. So we were a little bit disappointed. It was nice that he wanted to see us, but then we thought, oh, this is too late.
And what you're talking about here, Camilla, is the Trustrup.
Trustrup.
And what's that called in English?
It's called the Religious Communities Act.
Yeah, the Act. And that was under revision? Revised?
Yeah, it was being revised.
It was being revised.
Yeah.
And they had this date where this is the final opportunity to revise it or come with suggestions. And then you were told, no, nothing to do. you passed that date?
Not exactly. It wasn't open which date was the last day, but I couldn't find the. If you go to the Parliament's homepage, then you can see what are they working with for the time being. If you go to Retsinformation, which is a website where you can look into the legislation being processed and having been processed, then it was closed. It looked like that, and I called the Parliament and asked them, said it's done. But then at the meeting, it turned out it was not over and done yet because there was still, because it's a current legislation that has been opened so they could look it over. So they weren't all that finished, it turned out. So the church minister said, no, it's not completely over. We still have a round left. And it's actually possible, if we find something of value, then we can bring it in and see what the other parties feel like. And so I was so relieved at that meeting because now we could actually do something. So it doesn't mean, of course, that it will go through, but at least we could bring forth our arguments and tell some cases and tell what was working, what was not working in the legislation, seen from our point of view. And our point of view, of course, is that we want, in Denmark, it's not like you're not being reimbursed like they are in Norway and in Sweden. That means getting money from the state.
Funds, not being funded directly.
Yeah. No.
But they have tax benefits.
But it's a different way. Yeah, exactly. So there are taxation exemptions that you don't pay specific kinds of taxes on buildings, on the land that you own as a religious organization. That is, and it's also VAT, and it's different kinds of things. You don't pay taxes from gifts and from when they inherit money from former Jehovah's Witnesses. And we found that actually Jehovah's Witnesses, by being
registered,
considered not a state religion, but I've forgotten the word.
Trossamfund.
Yeah, Trossamfund. Anerkendt, recognized religious community. Yeah. So because they are that now, it means that they have all these tax exemptions. And it also means that you and I and all three of us, we pay taxes to an organization that has harmed us tremendously and is harming a lot of other people tremendously. And I think we all three can agree that we really, really, really feel hurt. And we feel it's like a betrayal.
Yeah, it is.
I think the state is betraying its community, its electorate, its inhabitants, when we as victims of an organization must pay tax money to it. So we kind of explained that to the minister and to his civil servants.
And that's interesting you say that, because what advice could you give? It could be, in Norway, they're doing pretty good so far. In Sweden, in Finland, in Iceland, when you have a meeting with a minister of the church, what advice can you give, Susanne? How did you prepare? Did you just get up this meeting? It was very easy. And then we say, actually, I don't know what to say. Well, I had bad childhood. Did you come prepared?
Yeah, but a great thing to Camilla, because you have done a lot of work. So they got a compendium with a lot of material, for example, from the
Watchtower,
Yes, for example, and a lot of other relevant stuff. But as a psychologist, I wanted to pinpoint it for him that if I have a client, for example, who have grown up with parents who have been drinking a lot or some other things like that, then I can mention different kind of places in the society where they can get help. But I cannot pinpoint anything to ex-Jehovah's ex-witnesses and other people who have been leaving sectarism.
No help.
So no help. We have Inside Out, and that's great, but they also need much more money to be able to really help the people.
And Inside Out is a private organization.
Yes, an NGO.
With Camilla,
Yeah.
Not you, Camilla, but the other
Camilla
Camilla.
Johnson.
Camilla
Yeah,
Johnson.
yeah.
She has made this. It's very good, but they're also trying to get some funds from the state to help so many. But you told also me once about the law of the children.
Yeah.
And they can use that now to help young people leaving.
Yeah, I think they in some matter should be able to use it, but the reason why Camilla is shaking her head is that's the law about how do you say
psychological
control? Yes, and it's
negative
social control.
Yeah.
It's a good law, but it's very difficult to use it before you have some specific cases that have been in trial. So it is there, but a lot of, for example, social workers and teachers and so on don't know how to use it yet. So we need much more information in the society. And Camilla and I said to Morten Dahlin, use us if you want to, because we would like to help in the work, so the government and Denmark could offer much more help to this group, and so that, how do you say it, that social workers, teachers, and every, how do you say, faggrupper?
Yeah.
Professionals.
Professionals have the tools to understand with which things they should look at, because they don't know it. No. I have been in contact with a lot of Danish
municipalities.
Yes, and they don't know what to do, and they don't know anything about it. They just see nice families from the outside, and perhaps some children that have contacted them and say, it's not good home at me, but why isn't it? So much more knowledge about it is necessary, and I really think they was listening to us.
Yeah. And the knowledge, really, especially after, because Susanne mentioned Morten Dahlin, that's church minister. So did you have the impression, Camilla, that he actually listened to you, or was it just a small,
no, absolutely,
a short meeting, and then next one?
No.
He was super present, and I think it also tells that we had a full hour with him.
Wow.
And he had brought 3 civil servants along with him.
Normally only 20 minutes.
Yeah. So it showed, I think, that he had a lot of respect for our case, and also that he was interested, and that he hoped he could get some tools from what we were saying. So I think that was extremely positive. But if I can just add also to this, the children's law, because what is really an issue here and what is at stake, and also what I don't think the minister knew that, but the law about psychological violence does not work in the way we want it to. It's way too narrow. You can't interpret it wider than domestic violence, for instance, mental psychological violence. It needs to be something that is taking place in the child's home. And it needs to be taking place by somebody that either the child is in family with, it's a relative, or somebody that is close enough to be considered a relative. It could be a very close dear friend that has been coming to the house for ages, or maybe an ex-boyfriend, or the mother's or father's ex-boyfriend or girlfriend. So it's a very narrow legislation. The law is simply not. It's too specific, because it was mentioned for violence at home, in the family, within family members, or among family members. So we can't really use it. And I've spoken to lawyers about it, and that's what they come back with. I've spoken to also a professional in the children's in a child NGO, who says the same. We can't use that legislation, and that's also
now, unless you revise it and put in the words.
It needs to be changed.
It totally.
It needs to be changed. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's also interesting in relation to the church minister Morten Dahlin, because he said, well, he's been out publicly saying that he does not like extremist
he does not like
religious
Jehovah's Witnesses. No.
groups, no, and also not Jehovah's Witnesses, because he considers them extremists. Otherwise, I think he would be fine. But he has been out saying that since it's difficult for them to change the legislation, it needs to be, of course, in sync with the law. So he has encouraged people who leave Jehovah's Witnesses to go out, contact the police, contact lawyers, and then sue Jehovah's Witnesses, and using the psychological violence law or act, and try to bring a case to court in that respect. And what we could tell him was that what we hear from lawyers, from children's NGOs, etc., is we can't use it. It's not doable. Yeah, maybe you can if there has been some also some issues within the family. But first of all, there are lots of issues about it when you have just been excommunicated, disfellowship from Jehovah's Witnesses. You are run over by a truck, right? You are so... your batteries are so low on energy, so you can't really do it. You're in a crisis situation. It's a terrible situation. You might not have an education. You can't perhaps really support yourself. And also, what you want the most is to get your family back. You want to have your family back, and you want to have your friends back, and maybe also your belief. But maybe you have lost your belief as well. So it's a very dire situation to be in. Very few people will be able to do that. That's the first issue. The second issue is, okay, maybe let's say it's possible to make a case from what this person has experienced. But the trouble is, it's going to be for instance, your parents or your partner or who else is close to you that you will have to drag into court. It's not the organization. So the organization will be free. So this is not what we want. This is not the way we can change how Jehovah's Witnesses as an organization, how they do their stuff. So it's a dead end, so to speak. You can't really move it over to where you want to go. So we need to do something else.
And what is that? I mean, Camilla and Susanne, don't you think that Denmark is on the same path as Norway? If they change the religious acts, if they do remove the approval of Jehovah's Witnesses in Denmark, like they did in Norway, then we can have the same story in Denmark, like here. And then the Watchtower sue the Danish government and so on.
Of course.
Don't you think it's possible? Because, the minister is not totally happy about Jehovah's Witnesses. A lot of politicians I have been interviewing in my podcast say the same thing. Kim Aas, for example. And maybe they will change the law, the act, and we'll have the same scenario in Denmark.
Yeah.
But isn't that the way to go?
Yeah, but of course, but also you can always appeal a decision made by the government. So of course, because we live after all, we live in a land with democracy and with a judicial system that works. So of course you should be able to appeal. That's fine. That's fine with me. It could also happen to be so that Jehovah's Witnesses would think, okay, this is very expensive and we might lose because hopefully they're going to lose in Norway. So the same might happen in Denmark because the legislations are quite similar in some ways. But if they were a little bit clever, they might want to end up saying, okay, then let's alter our rules and change a little bit within our organization. At least that's a hope also from our side. So that perhaps they could loosen up a little bit. So the whole rules set about disfellowship will be changed a bit. But of course...
we know them, don't we, Susanne? Maybe they, from the facade, changed some things.
Yeah,
for example, in Norway also, they argumented last year in the court that, no, we changed it. Now, actually, we can speak with our disfellowship daughters and son. No, only to invite them to the meeting, not have any social connection.
No dinners.
But another thing is that in my work, I see that if a young boy or girl is in contact with professionals and are telling, I'm not allowed to go in the clothes I want to, or my parents sometimes have video cameras in the home to look after me what what I'm doing, and I am not allowed to go have Danish friends or so on. If they come from Muslim families, then the professionals are very prepared to help them. And I would love that they could look with the same eyes on young people from, for example, Jehovah's Witnesses.
Good point, Susanne.
Yeah.
Why do you think that all eyes are on the Muslim community? How come that a sect, cult like Jehovah's Witnesses has been able to fly under the radar for so many years when they're doing exactly the same thing?
Yeah, as I think it's many different. There are many different explanations. Of course, one of them are that the Muslims are living completely different to us. So that's so obvious that that's something different, and then we are looking more at it. But another thing is knowledge, that we are really concerned about these young people, that they have rights and they have to have the freedom to grow up and take their own choices and not being controlled from their parents. But in Danish Christian families, we do not have that critical eyes on it, and that is really necessary.
If I may add something as well.
Yeah.
I think also it's been a little bit because we have gotten a shock in the Western world to experience Muslim families that were extremely fundamentalist and where we have been seeing killings and stuff like that, which is so extreme, well, fundamentally, to use that word differently, but fundamentally different from the way that we live in the Western world. We don't kill people, at least not physically, if they want to change religion or being sexually active without being married, etc., etc. So I think it's been such a shock to the Western world to experience that some people have been willing to do that. And since it's happened in some Muslim groups, of course not all Muslims, not at all, but in some Muslim groups there have been a willingness to do something like that. I think that has sparked a need for changing the legislation, and has also sparked a willingness to pay lots of money to contribute to helping these poor people.
Yeah.
So I think at least that's also what we see in the debate in Denmark, and probably in the Nordic countries as well. But we see that people, I'm not going to mention any names, but I saw a Danish politician who is very into speaking about Muslims. And he said specifically something about, well, everybody's talking about Jehovah's Witnesses, but excuse me, they don't kill their members. And, well, I thought it was very insulting to write something like that.
Yeah.
Because, no, we're not being killed physically, thank goodness.
But they drive them to suicide.
Yeah, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
But also, they kill us mentally or psychologically.
Yeah.
So, of course, it's worse to be killed physically. We can't debate that. But it was quite, I think it was quite telling that he said something like that, or actually wrote it on his Facebook site.
Yeah, I get annoyed sometimes also when I put up a new video or a podcast episode. There are always some persons never heard about this, and they just hear a little bit. They don't even listen. They just see the text, and they just write, "Oh, but it's much worse with the Muslims and Islam and so on." I don't care about Jehovah's Witnesses, small group, and they don't do anything bad. And you cannot compare. You cannot say the Muslims, because you cannot say, for example, the Christians.
No, exactly.
But there are so many denominations.
Yeah.
Jehovah's Witnesses is a high control group, controlled directly from 11 at the moment, in New York, getting direct information, controlling the whole community of 9 million and over 16,000 in Denmark. The Muslims are divided in groups. Yeah, you can take, for example, Hizb ut-Tahrir and say they're controlled also. It's a high control group, and say that, but not in general Muslims. Because I know a lot of peaceful Muslims too.
Absolutely.
So it's
Absolutely.
But Jehovah's Witnesses, they're not flying under the radar anymore because of you, among others.
Among several others, including yourself.
Yeah, I'm just talking with people. I only have the equipment, as I used to say. That compendium you talked about before, was it only 2 or 3 pages? Or?
No, it was quite a number of pages.
It was almost a book.
Yeah, well, I think I'd written it wasn't that much. It was 10 pages, but it was trying to combine, trying to show areas within the Danish legislation where I believe, where maybe we believe, that Jehovah's Witnesses are crossing the line, are violating the law. I can't say, of course, that they are violating the law, but I can say, seen from my point of view, I believe they are violating the law. And then I was trying to be very specific in which laws and why, and documenting what Jehovah's Witnesses over the years have said about different things. And it was like areas within negative social control, psychological violence. It was about children's upbringing and
a
living
lot
in
of
fear.
quotes from the Watchtower.
Lots of quotes.
And the videos,
Quotations,
especially videos for children and so on. And so they could actually see that.
And then there was one specific thing, another one. It was about this whole thing about that you're not always biblical free to remarry after divorce. And that was also something, I think it's a little bit on the flat hand that, of course, any legislation in the Western Hemisphere says that, of course, you should be able to marry again after divorce, except some extremely Catholic countries. It's been quite late.
Or intermission, some groups.
No, but I mean countries. I mean Ireland. That has been an issue for some years. But sorry, Ireland. Anyways, so that was pretty obvious that something is wrong here when Jehovah's Witnesses tell the congregations that, oh, I'm so sad to hear that you are being divorced, but since there's been no infidelity, neither of you can remarry. And of course that's against the law. So I've also been trying to document that.
And that's what you sent me something today, because it's today actually there's an article about that issue. Tell a little bit about that.
Could you tell about it?
Okay. It's the very day today. It's the 5th of February. They had a whole article about this.
2026. It's not. Yeah. Well, it's actually the Minister of Church, Morten Dahlin, who has sent out a press release, also with quotations from him and from the parties, the political parties that have voted for this, or actually not. It's not been a voting in the parliament, but because they're in this legislation about this trossamfundsloven.
The act.
Yes, the act of religious communities. That's how it's called. So all of them, they have issued statements saying that from now on, we're changing the legislation. The act is being changed. So now every religious communities that wants to be part of this recognized label of religious communities, they must oblige to the law, saying that we agree to Danish law also when it comes to marriages. And it's a mix of things which is quite easily pointing towards Muslim groups about having marriage certificates, which they have been operating with. So now the church minister and all these party members or party spokespersons say, we don't allow that anymore unless it's in compliance with Danish law. But also, it should be in compliance with Danish law that everybody can remarry again after divorce. So that's a wonderful thing. It's a small victory.
It is a small, but in advance, I can imagine what Jehovah's Witnesses will say. For example, Susanne, last year, there were some elders being interviewed by the lawyers, by this Anders Ryssdal, who is representing Watchtower. And he said, okay, I have a new witness, a Jehovah's Witness. I love that. There's so many witnesses in this conversation. A wealthy witness, no, an ex-Jehovah's Witness, no, a present Jehovah's Witness. But this Jehovah's Witness said, yeah, it's true that Watchtower writes this, not about divorces though, but about disfellowship. But it's not, it's only a principle. The governing body or the Watchtower don't say it's a rule that you have to follow. It's up to the individuals if they want to follow their recommendation, but it's not a rule. What would you say? They will say that also about this marriage. Yeah, but it's not a rule. It's up to the individual.
Your conscience.
It's your conscience matter.
Yeah.
They will
but
say
what about their own literature? Doesn't it say precisely that when you are divorced, you are not free to get married.
But they phrase it like a good Christian would do this.
Yeah.
It's a follower of Jesus and Jehovah will, of course, do so.
Yeah.
But they phrase it in court like it's up to the individuals.
Yeah, but then I was thinking a little about my own history. My poor husband, ex-husband, I think, he had to spy outside my house, stalk me, because he wanted to take me having an affair with a man so he could be married with another woman because he wasn't free. That's too long ago now. So we need some fresh stories that confirm that there is a big psychological pressure on the members to follow the principles, and so we need some fresh stories.
Yeah,
so that is very important here. Yeah.
So shout out to anybody who says it.
I think we need a complete change of the legislation about psychological violence.
Yeah.
And I have heard that some might be considering it, but let's wait and see what happens. But for sure, that's why I said it's only a small victory, because we haven't really achieved anything yet, except that now the minister...
We have achieved something, because how do you translate under skærpet tilsyn? Morten Dahlin, the church minister, actually 6 months ago, he put Jehovah's Witnesses under skærpet tilsyn.
It's an extra view
of what is it called? Not addition. It's called.
But that they have to be attention, special attention on Jehovah's Witnesses, and that's very serious actually to get that label.
Yeah, it is.
So something has happened.
But it's over and done with.
They're not anymore.
They're no longer, because they had, as when they received Hyrdebogen, the elder book, the shepherd's book, then they removed this special control over Jehovah's Witnesses, so it's gone. They said that was what they needed to see if children were treated correctly, and also what was the other thing about, I think, violence within Jehovah's Witnesses, if the elders were handling this correctly. So when they received the
new shepherd book,
shepherd
they removed
book,
that.
They saw, it looks like what the elders are told to do is okay. So there is no longer this extra set of eyes looking upon Jehovah's Witnesses. So it's a small victory, because it sends a signal, and that's important. It sends a signal from the state of Denmark to Jehovah's Witnesses. Listen, we are watching you. We are keeping an eye on you, and we don't like what you're doing. So pull yourselves together. And also that if we find a way to come after you, we probably will. So I think in that respect, it's positive. It's very positive. And it's positive if somebody can have the guts and the energy to actually build up a case, a court case against Jehovah's Witnesses, where they can see, well, they have put me in this very dire and hard situation now that I've been divorced and I'm not able to marry again. They say that I should follow my conscience, but when I do and I've said I want to marry, then I've been called in for elder conversations in this parallel court that Jehovah's Witnesses have. So it takes some hard evidence.
As you said before, Camilla, that it's only one individual. I mean, I like better the idea that they're doing the same thing as here in Norway, in Denmark, that they're removing the approval of Jehovah's Witnesses. Because now in the court, as you will see, I don't think the witnesses are coming because it's the Supreme Court, but they were there in Borgarting, in the district court and so on.
Why don't you think they will come tomorrow?
No, because in the Supreme Court, they won't show witnesses. They're only going through the cases. That's what I heard, because Supreme Court. So you won't, because they have all the papers in front of them, and they will discuss it back and forth.
Yeah.
But here you have, I think there were eight. There were, that's funny, Danglish. No, there were 8 former Jehovah's Witnesses standing in the trial.
Yeah.
Because one person is not enough. They will say it's not only you.
No.
And they can always say, no, but that's a group of elders that have been misled.
In that congregation, they were very hard.
No, that's not how we do it. So that will be the excuse. It needs to be several cases.
Yeah.
And now you're here in Norway for the first time. Not for the first. You have been skiing before, but you are also thinking about an arrangement this Thursday, where you're going to meet up with other tomorrow night. Yeah. Tell me a little bit. What's the idea with that arrangement, and who are you meeting?
For example, Hilde.
Hilde.
I cannot remember. Yeah.
And
she
Hilde
have been doing a great job here in Norway in making a platform where Jehovah's Witnesses, among others, can be able to get help and information there. So
and Johnny.
Johnny
from
Johnny
from Finland.
From Finland.
Yeah.
So do you want to make like a cooperation with other Scandinavian countries and
no cooperation?
No.
A collaboration.
A collaboration.
Collaboration.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, basically, I heard about Johnny, and he's been doing something similar as we have been doing.
Yeah.
And I think he's maybe not a lawyer, but I think he has studied law. So he knows a bit more about the law than I do personally. So and he has compiled material like we have, and has gone to the ministers and to politicians in the parliament, and have debated the whole thing about Jehovah's Witnesses. And then he was sued by Jehovah's Witnesses in Finland. But the court finally said we're not even going to raise the case or have it brought into court, because there's no valid arguments in suing him at all.
The only thing he'd done was criticize Jehovah's Witnesses
exactly.
using their own literature.
Exactly. Yeah. But so I became aware of him and asked him if I could see some of the material. It's not that long ago. It was after I had compiled this material myself. So I told him I had done a little bit like him, and that Susanne and I had been lobbying and been at the parliament. So we had a good conversation. And then I think actually it was Johnny who said, why don't we meet with some of the others? And I thought that was a splendid idea. So actually Johnny, he started inviting some of the others. And now we're going to meet tomorrow with Johnny, with Adis from Iceland, and her working her colleague, her working partner,
buddy,
Petra, and with who have we said? Have we said more?
Hilde.
Yeah, Hilde.
As well. Yeah.
And Frank also from Denmark.
And Frank from Denmark.
Who's Frank?
Mr. Jensen from Denmark.
And
Susanne and I. So we're going to meet tomorrow.
Yeah.
And also I made an outlay of a scheme and asked them all to fill it in. Also from Sweden, they're not going to be here today, being present today or tomorrow. But I wanted to figure out, to get an overview how many NGOs are there in the northern countries that help ex-Jehovah's Witnesses or people from Christian sects.
Similar sects. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. How are they funded? Are they having public funds? Or do they have to stamp up private funding? And what is the capacity? How many people do they actually have a capacity to help? And also, what is the need? So I started out asking in Denmark. I called Camilla Johnson from Inside Out and spoke with her. And because they have just made a small collaboration with Red Center, which takes care 99.9% of Muslims accessing Islamic groups. But I spoke with her as well. Very fine interview with both of them. I got a lot of information. And then I shared it, sent it to everybody in the Nordic countries. So I'm compiling again some material, and have also given it to the minister, because it's quite interesting to see that we're not getting that much money, that many funds from the public, and the need is much larger than they can actually deal with right now because they don't have enough resources. So that was kind of interesting. I also made a list of how many Jehovah's Witnesses are there per ratio in the Nordic countries, and turns out there are most Jehovah's Witnesses per
inhabitants.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In Finland, they have the highest ratio. Then comes Denmark, then comes Norway, and then comes Iceland. So that's quite interesting. Yeah.
It's very interesting. I think I will be interviewing a little bit more you two, not me too, you two, me too, haha. Maybe tomorrow after the meeting with Joni and the
Good
others,
idea.
I can bring my traveler's microphone and make some small interview. But it sounds like that you are more aiming towards Finland. It's more similar, the situation, because for me, I'm always saying, I hope they will do the same thing in Denmark as in Norway, remove the registration. But it doesn't sound like you think that will be as easy to go the same way in Denmark, and the politicians say, okay, you are not allowed anymore as approved.
I just want to make it specific. When you say to remove the registration, it's not to forbid. It's not to forbid Jehovah's Witnesses.
Of course not to forbid.
But it's just to remove them from the list of
and not getting the fundings or not getting the tax relief.
So-called recognized religious communities. Yeah, exactly. That's the only thing. We don't want Danish taxpayers, ourselves included, to have to.
But do you think it's going to happen that actually
I have no idea.
will remove, like they did in 2021?
I think they will
here in Norway?
if they find proof where it's evident that Jehovah's Witnesses are violating Danish law, then I have no doubt they are going to remove them from the list. And that's, in a way, I also have to accept that we need to have hard proof. We can't just, otherwise it's not a society worth living in if it's just by emotion that we say, no, we don't like Jehovah's Witnesses, so they can't have these tax exemptions, for example. I wouldn't want to live in a society like that. So it's fine that we need hard proof.
Yeah.
We need to show that they are not following the rules. And then I'm sure that if we can find that, then they will be removed from this list of recognized religious groups.
Knock on wood, cross my heart, inshallah. Susanne, let's end this, and you will get the final word. Tomorrow, for the first time, you'll be in the courtroom.
Yeah, I look forward.
And there will be a lot of people also from Denmark, because the headquarters of Scandinavia, or Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, that is in Denmark. That's in Holbæk.
Yeah.
So maybe you will meet some of your old friends in the courtroom, standing on the other side.
Yeah.
How do you think your reaction, even though as you are a psychologist, you must have some feelings. Do you think it's going to be unpleasant in some way?
Not at all. Not at all. I feel so calm and so strong together with you two, so that's not a problem.
But they will see you as also you evil apostates.
Yeah, they can
that's
do
their
that.
loss.
Yeah.
That's their loss.
Everyone else would think, oh, who are those nice three persons over there? Yeah.
Evil apostates. But we are not evil. Actually, we are also helping the Jehovah's Witnesses present inside, because if they are relieving them a little bit, changing some of the things in the watchtower, actually it helps the present Jehovah's Witnesses. So what's not to like?
Exactly.
They should thank us also from the inside.
Yeah,
well,
that's right. Yeah.
That would be a very optimistic dream, right?
I am an optimistic person. You know that, Camilla, from start to end.
Yeah.
Well, I am in a need for a big beer.
Oh, really?
I want to have, and you want to have a drink. You want what it was, dark and stormy. You like gin and tonic?
Yeah, you had
Oh, that was me. Yeah, okay.
Why don't you remember that one?
Me and Dennis Knudsen. Oh no, that's an intern. No.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
It was a pleasure.
As always.
Every time. Always fun.
This is the third time we have actually made together.
Yeah.
So it's good.
See you tomorrow.
No, see you. When I end here, we're going straight to the bar.
Good.
I'm thirsty.
It's so funny to being able to say, see you tomorrow at the court case.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you for now.
Thank you for now.